Because you know what? Now that we're on that topic,
Yeah.
I've actually met a lot of women that are dating guys that are quite high value, and they
Yeah.
give them the option
Yeah.
to be able to
But the
invest
thing
it
is,
back.
I always say that women actually just want an investment. Now, if you give her a financial investment, she's okay about the emotional monogamy because that's a form of investment. But if there's no financial investment, she expects more emotional investment. So you just got to balance it out. We want investment, whether that's financial, emotional, whatever it is. Now, if you're not covering us financially, you better give us all of you emotionally. But if you're covering us financially, for a lot of women, they're like, okay, maybe you might step out, but I get to live this life, live this house, have this car. I know you care about me.
Is there anything wrong with that?
No, there's nothing wrong with that. If that's because it's a form of care. It is a form of care.
It's a form of love,
It's a form
right?
of care.
Like of saying,
and it's a form of investment. We've got to accept the way men and women are designed rather than reject it and judge it. Women want investment. Men want loyalty or whatever it is. Yeah. So if women want investment and if you want to step out and do all of those things, pick a woman who accepts financial investment as a form of investment. Don't pick a woman who wants emotional investment. She's going to not find that enough. She's going to want loyalty. So you just got to pick your woman. But every woman's tips on the scale, whether she wants more financial or whether she wants more emotional. If you want to step out and you've got the resources for it, find that woman that wants the more, as long as she's got her financial investment, she's good. Don't choose the one that needs emotional investment. Usually it's the ones that have been hurt or traumatized. They need more emotional. They don't care about the finances.
because, you know, other women would judge other women
No.
for having that.
No,
Like
go for it.
having a high value man, and essentially
He steps out?
Yeah, essentially he steps out, and they're like, oh my god,
Yeah.
you know, like
well,
what?
the
Why
thing-
are women judging that other woman? for
Because
allowing that?
it's easy to judge a situation you can't access. When you can access a man that's taking you left, right, and center and paying for everything and taking you first class, then tell me what you would do in that situation. It's very easy to judge circumstances that you can't access, but when you can access it, then you can form a more informed judgment. So I think the people that judge it can't access it, so they don't even know what that life looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why I think they judge.
Yeah, because I've seen many cases, or I've heard, oh, you know, so and so's partner cheats and stuff like that. But it's like for me, in some cases, it's kind of like an open marriage, no? Or is
Well,
it
I always say that high value men are more likely to be cheated on back. They just don't realize it.
really?
Absolutely. I always say rich men are the most likely to be cheated on, especially in Dubai,
Why?
because the women they choose.
What?
The women, when you're a broke man, you're limited in terms of the women you can access. You
Yeah.
can only access the limited range of women. So you're only going to access a simple kind of woman because you're a simple man. That simple woman doesn't have many options. So you're both optionless and you're both good to go. You've got a connection, you're good to go. Now, if you are a high value man, let's say, for example, you're a George Clooney, you can access whoever you want in the world. Right? Whoever you want. So you could choose a Kim. If you're Kanye, you can choose a Kim. Do you think Kanye is the only rich man she knows?
No.
Do you think Kanye is the best she can get? She can get many of you. So what happens is, as a man becomes more successful, his criteria and selection of women becomes more provocative, promiscuous. It's usually the dream girl. That dream girl knows 10 of you. But if you choose that, simple girl that works in Starbucks, of course she's going to be loyal to you. But what high value man chooses that? He chooses the sexiest girl on screen. So I always say to men who are high value rich, especially in Dubai, before I've even met that girl, I'm like, she's cheating on you. Why? Because she likes you for your lifestyle and she knows plenty of men with your lifestyle. You're just covering her current bills.
I feel bad for men now. Like, I feel like
Don't feel bad for them because they choose this life. They could easily choose a simple, nice woman, but they choose this life.
Yeah, but still, it's like, you know, they work.
They work hard
They work
and-
hard. They, go to the gym. They try and be like, they've become masculine. They cover the bills. They're just trying to find.
It's a really
it's
poor
quite
deal
hard.
for them
It's
because
quite
it's
hard.
a really poor deal because what happens is they're the ones doing everything.
Yeah.
Both are cheating, but she's doing it on your watch and she's doing it with your credit card. So he's getting a way worse deal. But I always say it's your selection process. Who tells you to date these kind of women that had a billionaire in the past and has had all this work done? You think she got that for free? It's you have to look at your selection process. As you get more successful, you choose more promiscuous. What do you expect? Yeah, but they always do. You don't see footballers flying out a librarian. You know, they're not going to go fly out a teacher on a lad's app. They're flying out the OnlyFans girl. And it's only a matter of time before you get lost in the sauce and you make that OnlyFans girl your girlfriend.
Interesting. So what's the selection for girls then? Let's just say I'm single.
Yeah.
Hypothetically,
God forbid.
I'm not. Haven't been for 5 years.
Let's not do that.
Let's just say I'm single. I'm in the current dating market right now. How can you find a nice guy?
I would say instead of thinking about what you want, is think about what you need. And your needs come from sometimes your own traumas. Yeah, from your own childhood, what was missing? Where were you hurt? What are your core kind of beliefs and values about yourself? And choose somebody who soothes you when you get anxious, who makes your life feel more soothing and calming. That's going to lead to a long-lasting relationship. But if you are traumatized and you think, oh, but he's buying me this, he's doing this for me, so you haven't found somebody who soothes your anxiety, so you're not going to find your partner through that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But like, men are not that soothing, are they?
The right man can be. Yeah, men are not that soothing. I love that.
But you know, the masculine, like I've got 3 brothers and then obviously my partner, he's actually...
Well, here's how you choose it. You look at their current lifestyle and think, would that lifestyle make me more anxious or less anxious?
Okay.
It's not about changing anybody. If I know I've got certain traumas and I'm anxious a certain way, it would be stupid of me to try and be with the Chris Brown. It'd be stupid of me. I'm going to be traumatized. I'm going to be hurt. I'm going to be waiting by the phone every day and not getting a call and watching him on stage grind on every girl on the planet. Like, why am I doing that to myself? Whereas if I know my traumas, I know that, okay, I do need a lot of love and attention and connection. I'm not going to choose the most high value man who's busy all day, every day, because I actually need somebody who comes home at 5 o'clock. I need consistency. But if I choose a CEO, he's flying out, he's doing this, then so instead of chasing a lifestyle, I chase what will soothe my genuine anxieties and create a connection.
Interesting. What would you say is a high value woman?
I say this about the same thing about everything. I would imagine. I actually don't know if I'm being honest. I actually don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know if I'm being honest.
I think
But me. I don't actually know. What I would consider a high value woman is, I would always say somebody who adds value. Yeah, it's not a leech, adds value. Some way, shape or form adds value to a man's life. That value, I did a video on this, so actually I should say I do know. In my opinion, it always adds value. You know that leech kind of woman who just sits home and looks pretty, it gets dry quick. Yeah, you run out of conversation, you run out of novelty and excitement, and you're not inspired by that woman anymore. So I would say she adds value in some way, shape, or form. Maybe she takes away your domestic duties, or maybe she takes away some of your emotional concerns. She adds some value to your life rather than just taking it. The other thing I would say with high value women is they need to be feminine. They have to be in touch with their nurturing side. They have to love kids. Not even if you don't want kids. The woman that loves kids and loves nurturing, she treats you better than the woman who's like, I don't want kids, I don't want this, I don't want that, blah, blah. They treat you better. Nurturing women treat you better. So women that loves children, loves family, loves this, good background, that doesn't make a difference. And the final thing I would say is women with boundaries. What happens with women with clear boundaries, and you know you're going to lose her if you act a certain way, it makes a man exercise more self-control. It makes a man become a better version of himself. But when she accepts anything and everything, he becomes like a dog without a leash, and they don't want that. Truly, they want some boundaries. Everybody does.
I think men actually most men like feisty women.
Yeah, they do. Well, they like feisty, but more so boundaries rather than feisty. They don't want to be fighting all the time, but they do want to know there's a threshold of how much you can get away with.
Like you said, they need to know.
They need boundaries. They're like children, and like everybody, we need boundaries. Otherwise, we don't know what we're doing. We become lawless. And relationships, you need some boundaries. You
need some laws in the relationship.
Yeah.
You need some rules.
It brings out the best in you.
Yeah, I think
it brings out if I have a partner that accepts me hitting him, cheating on him, swearing at him, I become a woman I don't like. So why would I want a partner like that? Similarly, if a man has a woman who lets her hit him, lets them swear, there's no way he's going to feel good being with a woman like that. Lets him cheat, even though they claim they love cheating. There's an element of shame and guilt after every time you can't control yourself.
Really?
Absolutely.
What, men feel guilty after cheating?
Of course. Yeah. Oh, you sound surprised.
Because I just thought it was just I mean, they all
They
talk
condition it. I
about
think
the
this
way
is-
that they explain it, as in
a lot of men will disagree, and I'm going to get lots of like incels who've never even had a girlfriend say, no, we don't cheat. No, we don't feel guilty, but they do. And if you don't feel guilty, you've divorced emotion from attachment, and that's not good. That's not good either. If you don't feel any guilt when you cheat, because here's why you should feel some level of shame. You're living two lives. Anybody who lives inauthentically should feel guilty or should feel ashamed of themselves, because you're still not in your masculine if you're living two lives. You have not got the balls to say to somebody, I'm doing this tonight. When you can't express what you're actually, who you truly are, and you're living a double life, how can you be a masculine man? The men that actually say, I'm married to 2 women, I've got 3 girlfriends, they don't feel any shame or guilt because they're expressing their authentic self. But the man who has to hide his phone, run here, send his location there, what nonsense is this? How are you a high-value man if you're scared your girlfriend's going to ring you at a certain time? You're shook of her. So live an authentic life, and then you won't feel any shame or guilt. But the guy that has to hide it, even if he doesn't feel any guilt for cheating on his girlfriend, he feels some shame that he has to live a double life.
yeah.
No one likes living a double life. It's not conducive to good mental health.
Interesting. Wow, so many golden nuggets here, Sadia. There's a few TikToks that you've made that have gone viral.
Yeah.
And
I hate my TikTok.
I love them.
I hate my TikTok. It's so messy. There's so much going on. There's like
so addictive.
It's so
actually.
addictive, and I'm so ratchet on TikTok.
Sometimes I send them to my partner. I'm like, see?
My mum sends them around to people. Can you believe that? Yeah,
wow,
bless her. Yeah.
I heard one of the things that you said in one of your podcasts. Your mum's the one that got you online.
Absolutely. She forced me. Originally, she forced me to become a psychology teacher because she just said I teach well, and she forced me to go down that route. And then she got sick of kind of like seeing my potential, like in because she would see me like do speeches on weddings and like just in conversations. She watches me all the time, and she'd be like, "Why aren't you on a stage? Go on a stage? Go online every day. Go online." And then she forced me. She really, really forced me, and then it just went from there. So yeah, I do owe her a lot of credit for that.
That's amazing. Thank you, Sadia's
Thank
mum.
you, Mum.
Hope you're
I love
watching
you so
this.
much. I miss her really at
We
the
really
moment.
appreciate your
I
help.
really miss her. I haven't seen. I'm actually a bit upset with her because she's supposed to come out to Dubai and she hasn't come yet, and she keeps saying she'll book her ticket.
It's okay. We forgive you.
No, we don't. Call me.
You did one of these TikToks about why are hot women psychos or crazy?
Yeah, why are hot girls crazy? I love that video.
Yeah, right.
Well, I always say this. It's like 2 women have completely different experiences of the same man. We could meet the same man and you have a completely different experience to what I would have of him, and I might have a completely different experience of how you have it. And with hot girls, they get the worst version of men. They really get the worst version of men. Again, the men in the comments, oh, you're blaming us. But here's what it is. Men like sex. They like pretty women. So when they see a pretty girl and a hot girl, they can't help but become a guy that's trying to conquer her, they're trying to get her. And he'll risk it all. If he's married, he doesn't care. If it's at the gym, he doesn't care. If it's at work, he'll cross the work boundaries. They lose their sense of professionalism or their sense of like loyalty just to kind of get an access to her. So she starts to go through life thinking, men are trash. This guy had a girlfriend. This guy was married. That guy's my boss. And he still moved to me. Still tried to be, my London comes out. He still tried to get to me. So she starts to see men as creatures who can't control their sexual urges. Whereas you take a basic or plain Jane, she can be in a bikini next to a guy and he doesn't even notice her. And so she thinks men are, they're fine, they're sufferable, they don't do anything. So she's far more like, oh yeah, go on a lad's holiday, oh you can go Ibiza, oh you can do this, no worries, blah, blah. Whereas a girl that's on the receiving end of going to Ibiza and a guy saying, go on my table today, or you're not leaving, or taking you to the top tables and stuff, she's watching you every time you go out on a night out.
Do you think like a lot of the hot girls, that are available in this market now, most of them have become like sugar babies?
I think so. I think if you come from a broken home, especially if you don't have a family background, and I do understand that this is no judgment, but when you don't have a home with one parent missing, what happens then, you don't have accountability to 2 people. And you just do what you got to do to make ends meet. Sometimes you don't even need to make ends meet, but it becomes addictive. Because
it's so easy, right?
When you divorce sex from any emotion and you see it as an activity, why not get paid for that activity? And so this is what culture has done. It's slowly and steadily taken women to this point. First thing was to create the idea of sex before marriage. Then it was the idea of a spontaneous sex. Then it was the idea of one night stands. Then it's now the idea of, why are you doing one night stands? Get paid for it. If you don't care about the guy, you're never going to see him again. Why would you waste your body? You might as well make money. So society has conditioned us to get more and more provocative.
But isn't prostitution the oldest business in the world?
It was for people who were desperate. Now it's for people who just want to get their nails done.
Wow. I mean, you know, one thing I've seen since I've come to Dubai is the sugar baby lifestyle here.
Yeah, it's so real.
It's so, like, I'd always see like YouTube videos about
No, you'll
it.
see it now. Like when you go to Starbucks, you'll see the sugar baby.
But I'd always watch like a YouTube video. I'm a sugar baby, and this is what I got.
And I thought it was some hidden thing, and I was like, oh, I wonder what it's like. Now it's just
wonder
like,
what
oh,
it's
she's right there. Yeah, just ask her. Yeah.
And it's so glorified here.
Well, it's
or here or around the world. Forget here. I don't
think it's in every
here.
big city, even Miami. But this is in cultures where you minimize the emotional attachment to sex, and men. This is another thing men are delusional about. They think women can't have sex without emotion. Yes, they can. How do you think prostitutes have done it their whole lives? They can when they decide to monetize it.
But I feel like it affects women because I listen to a lot of Jordan Peterson. Shout out to JP. Absolutely love
Man
you.
like JP. Man like. Yeah.
And he spoke a lot about women and you know, sexual attachment and stuff.
Yeah.
And I feel like women that are in that industry or they're in that space, they have more higher chance of like suicide or depression.
And men and women. Here's the thing, we've gotten so used to the idea that men and women are different when it comes to sex, and men can have sex with everybody and anyone, and women can have sex with just one man, but here's the thing, it's psychological for both people. Ask men who cheat, they're usually going through an ego boost. They need an ego boost, or they feel unappreciated by their wife, or they've just lost their job and they need an escapism. It's psychological. If it was biological, they'd have sex with their wife all day, every day, but they don't. So it's a case of there's an escapism. There's some psychological escapism. Now, for women who do it, it's definitely a sense of she's met people who have used her body so many times against her will that now she's trying to take back control. There's a reason why sex abuse leads to prostitution at a really high rate. They find that sex workers, I'm sure it's different now, but the last time they looked at the data before it became glorified, sex workers have a real history of childhood abuse. And what happens is when you've been abused or molested as a child, the control has been taken out of your hands. Somebody's accessed your body and violated it without your permission. So to reestablish control, the person who's been a victim starts to then sell their body and say, you can only access me on my terms now. And it's a form of regaining control. But until you undo the trauma, it's going to happen again and again.
Wow. So
how do we get from sugar babies to this?
Because
I'm so sorry.
It's fine.
But there is an element of that.
Yeah,
I would imagine they were violated at some point. And I actually think it doesn't even need a violation. I actually think it's the culture of losing your virginity at a young age.
Really?
Yeah. I think that the reason why we have so many sugar babies now and so much is they lost their virginity at a young age. I used to be a teacher. So I would have Monday mornings of girls coming into my office and being like, oh, miss, I need to get an abortion quickly. And, oh, this awful stuff like this. And they would lose their virginity at such a young age. And the advent of Snapchat meant that 11-year-olds were sending nudes. And it's like, 11, sending nudes? What are you talking? I didn't even know what that was a thing. But when you do that at such a young age, there's no way you don't experience shame and guilt. Impossible. Because nobody looks at losing their virginity at 12, 13 years old and thinking, yeah, that was a good idea. So to reestablish control over that experience is to then monetize sex and make sex feel like it's just a job. And then you don't feel so guilty and ashamed of what you did when you were young.
So do you think that's where OnlyFans comes in? There's a lot of young girls on there.
I would love to do a study on this, but OnlyFans girls,
Please do
I would
it.
love to. Yeah, I would love to. Who wants to fund me? I would love to do that. where it's OnlyFans girls, I can imagine they lost their virginity either non-consensually or too young. I don't believe it can be consensual when you're young.
How young is too young now?
The thing is, maybe because I worked with kids and I see they're kids. They're so small. So even 15, 16, which is the legal age, they're kids. There's no decision you can make at 16 and still make the same decision at 30. So it's too young.
Yeah, but I could argue that, like, someone in a village of Pakistan, she's got married at 16 and she's...
But she didn't lose her virginity. Somebody invested in her. There's a self-esteem attached to that. somebody's taking the time to marry you and invest in you, and you're having a whole courtship, and there's a wedding, and there's a meher, a dowry. So there's no lack of self-esteem. But a 15-year-old who's been had sex in the back of a park by a guy that she just wanted him to like her more, and it's not really because she loves him, there's a completely different self-worth that comes attached to that.
Interesting.
And it's the culture. And, you know, when I was a teacher, it would shock me that parents would be like, oh, yeah, so-and-so's just staying at her boyfriend's house this weekend, and they'd be 14, 15 years old. And I'd be like, come on, Janet, you can be stricter than that, babes. What's going on? Because they would literally be like, oh, she's staying with her boyfriend or going on holiday with her boyfriend. And they're like 16, 15 years old. They're too young.
I think I'd have a panic attack.
I would kill.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say that, but I would literally be beside myself if that was the case.
Yeah.
I would literally be beside myself because it's just too young. They can't even do their homework on time, and you think they should know what their sexual partner should look like.
Yeah, 100%. I think if I had kids now,
Oh, you wouldn't be able to. I stopped teaching because of it, because of the culture in the schools. It is too traumatizing for me to watch.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that when it comes to like men investing into women in those villages, they probably feel
Huge investment.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, you're saving them from poverty a lot of the time. Like they might be from families where, I'm not saying it's perfect, but what it does to a woman's self-worth is completely different. So yes, she might be poor and then she gets married at 15 years old, but there's a whole shebang. You know, there's a whole ceremony. It's, you know, parents are like giving her away. You feel like a woman. They make you feel like a woman, but there's none of that when you're just a teenager who's had a crush on a boy, doesn't know how to get his attention, so now you sleep with him.
So talking about self-esteem,
Yeah.
question popped into my head that I've been wanting to ask you. Obviously, we've gone on to OnlyFans.
Mm-hmm.
We've spoken about sugar babies. I actually really want to ask you something that a lot of girls use, even I've used and I've been addicted to, and FaceApp.
Yeah, and filters in general.
Filters in general and FaceApp and Facetune. What is the dark side of using those apps?
Well, it can't have any good consequences, I'll be honest, because I remember a time when there wasn't any filters. I use filters. I love a filter. I do love it. I know. So this is no judgment or anything like that.
Yeah, use them, but I just want to know.
But I remember the first time Snapchat came out with filters and stuff, and I remember how ridiculous it was. It was like a dog or like, I was like, oh my God.
The flowers.
Flowers and dogs and I don't know, puppies coming out of your head and all that stuff. But what it did to you is it showed you a version of your face if you were prettier. It's like shows you, oh, if I just lost a bit of weight here, if I just had a slimmer nose, if I had like bigger lips, this is what I would look like. Oh my God, perfect. Let me go get that. So it's a form of consumerism. It's a form of implanting an idea and a desire to go and get cosmetics, because women consume cosmetics, and cosmetics is a huge, huge industry. So I think it is geared towards, and you know, as people say, like girls are starting to look the same now, and so on and so forth. And I understand that because we're all using the same filters.
Yeah, because you know, like, and one of the guys on my team will say this. He will take professional photos of me, and he'll edit them, and then I'll put FaceApp on them, and he's like,
"But you look better." I said this. You look even better in person.
Thank you very much. I really
mashallah.
appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. So do you.
Yeah,
obsessed. And he was like, "You look really edited."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Do I?" And he's like,
and I can't even see it.
Yeah,
when
yeah,
I do it,
really.
I'll send it to a guy and I'll be like, oh, what's that? And he's like, oh, that's so edited. I'm like, that looks so natural to me. And
I
he's
look like this.
but yeah, no, and also it doesn't help. Like I remember when I was young and stuff, there was no such thing. Like you would have like a simple phone. So there was no such thing as posting on Instagram and stuff. So if you took a bad picture, you wouldn't care. But now that picture has to go somewhere. It has to present to the world with it. And if it's not perfect, you feel insecure. Whereas before a picture would be nothing. Yeah. So I think the pressure and where it's going also adds to that, and just the pressure of the fact that it's so readily available. The Instagram generation is really it's really toxic. It is toxic, and I'm part of it because I am part of Instagram as well. So I'm not saying this in a judgmental way. I'm saying it from an experienced way. It is very toxic, but this is why I'm so big on education. When like, praise be to God, and this is not me trying to say, but when people say nice comments about appearance and stuff like that, it goes like this to me. I don't care for it, but because I've built something else that I'm proud of,
Yeah.
which is my brain. And as a result, I'm not dependent. And even when they say insults about my looks, sometimes it doesn't really bother me.
You know what? I was just saying that
Yeah.
the other day to my partner. I was like, you know, I don't need to be the most stunning, person in the room. I don't need to be the most beautiful, because for
Yeah.
me,
There's
it's
something
about
else.
my work.
Yeah.
It's about everything else that I
And
do.
that's one of the things that why I don't find Dubai difficult at all.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people be like, oh, there's so many pretty girls, so many this. And I'm like, yeah, but I've worked on something beyond my looks. I don't compare myself on people on looks. I don't compare myself at all, because I know what I have. All praise be to God, is me. Is my is my education. It's my way of speaking, and it's also my personality and stuff. So I mean, the thing is, people only see the educated side online, but that's like even that I don't really rate that about myself. If you know me as a person, I'm like quite fun, and I'm a good friend and all these things. So even my friends didn't even know I had all this knowledge, because that's not why they attached to me. So because I feel like I've got such a multifaceted personality, the looks part of stuff, it doesn't feel like a real compliment. It goes over my head. But if you say something that is more linked to something that's unique about me, that's when I feel flattered. And I think if more women worked on those things, they would feel less pressure to be the prettiest girl in the room.
Yeah. Because even like sometimes I'll get a comment, maybe about my looks, or they'll say, "Oh, Miss Hamida," or somewhere and it's great. Like, I really appreciate it. But when someone compliments my work, like something that I've spent hours doing, I will take that compliment and I will just cherish it so much, because it's such a big deal for me, as opposed to like.
And I don't really I'm really bad with compliments. I really don't. I had to put a post out on Instagram once, and I was like, please don't, guys, I really appreciate it, but don't give me I just don't like it. It doesn't sit well with me. I don't know why. It's probably my own maybe I need to analyze where that comes from. But yeah, that's why I would just say that the filter generation and this generation, which I'm not avoiding myself, I'm guilty of myself. But the focus on appearance comes when you don't focus on other aspects of your being. And then the bad thing about focusing on your appearance is the only thing we can guarantee will go. Everything else will only develop. But your looks is the only thing I can guarantee you will go.
Yeah,
so
will
why
go.
focus on that? Focus on the things that are going to live forever. And that is your mentality, it's your conduct, it's your treatment of others, so on and so forth. So those are things. If once you work on those, God willing, you'll be less focused on being the prettiest girl or looking a certain way, inshallah.
Yeah. Why do you think women are jealous of each other?
Oh God. This is a topic I could talk about forever. I have had really bad experiences with women, if I'm being honest. I've had terrible experiences my entire life.
I actually saw you post a comment. Someone sent you a DM.
Yeah.
And it was just
Vile, right?
vile.
Yeah, my whole life I've had this.
It was so. I've had a few.
Mine has been like bullying by women. It started even in my home and like family and stuff. I've had a really, really rough ride with women my whole life. Really rough ride, and it's good and bad. The good thing from it is I'm not as emotionally affected by what they have to say, and I don't crave the acceptance. I've always just had more men around me, more male friends, or whatever it is. And I don't judge, but one thing, and I've become really good at selecting women in my life, but one thing I always say is choose female friends. I always say 2 women can be best friends until a man is involved. A man is what creates jealousy between women. It's not a man's fault before the men go. It's just how we're programmed. What happens is you can have 2 best friends, but the moment they start liking the same man, they're jealous of each other. You can have like sisters. The moment that one man and it's really what happens, what causes jealousy is when, this is why 2 married women that are happily married tend not to be jealous of each other. Or 2 people in happy relationships. I always say, my friends tend to be happily married. I always have female friends that are happily married or happy in their relationship. When you have women, when it is jealousy, it's usually because they're competing over what they believe is a scarce resource. And men, they believe that if you get the man, I can't get the man. And then the jealousy starts. But when you remove men from the equation, women can get on really well. So I think I always select friends that are just genuinely happy. They're happy as people, but it does help when they're in happy relationships. They're not competing.
What are the signs of a friend that's jealous of you?
They are silent when things are good for you. When things are going good, they're a bit more silent. And when things are going bad, they're present. But when things, it's not so much about who's there for you when things are bad, because sometimes people just like to hear gossip and like to know. It's when things are going good for you, they're silent, or their energy shifts and stuff like that. So I would say how they respond when things are going good in your life. And you can't fake that. So like, you know, if you tell a girl that you're pregnant and she goes a bit quiet, or you're getting married, she goes a bit quiet, you can't fake those responses. Yeah. So whereas you can fake it, oh, I'm so sorry you're going through a divorce, you can fake that. But you can't fake your visceral reaction when things are going good for people. And when people are saying good things about you, how does that person respond? Do they join in with the good comments, or do they go quiet?
I had a friend like that once, and I learned.
Do you think it's more in Asian girls?
She was actually English.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I've
so
not really experienced it much with the English girls. Maybe
I had an English friend.
Bitch. I'm coming for you, Janet.
No, I had a friend, and I said some good news to her. And one thing I learned about was facial reactions.
Yeah.
And her reaction was so forced.
It's the good news.
And I was just like, oh, wow, like you actually don't want me to do better than you, or...
Well, the thing is, there is no better. It's just different.
Yeah, like as in not better than her, but just she didn't want me to give her the news that I gave her because it was such big news. And the reaction was just so forced. And in my head, like even after that, she just went quiet.
Yeah, it's the quiet. It's the...
And she's always there for bad news.
Bad news. And I say that that's my number one advice is, how do people respond when good things are happening for you? And it's not limited to friends. It could be family as well. And it's not limited to women. It could be men as well. I had men when I started my Instagram, and I had some male friends who were just genuinely jealous. And I'm like, why are you jealous?
What?
I don't know, of the notoriety or something like that. Not that there's any notoriety, it's just followers, it's not that deep. But I remember like a male friend of mine getting a bit bitchy with me and being like, oh, you know, you're always out for dinners in Dubai and you're always doing this, this, and just that jealousy. And I don't think it's gendered, but it's usually more amongst the same gender. And men get jealous of other men as well. They just express it differently.
Oh, men are quite bad.
Yeah, they're really bad.
Yeah.
Women were just more known for it and obvious about it. But men will joke about the jealousy. They'll be like, even when I was a teacher, I used to observe this a lot in students with men with boys, when they compete with each other, they'd be like, you're so dumb, you got a D, I got a C. They're in competition with each other, but they make a joke out of it. Whereas women, they're in silent competition.
Yeah. Women, I feel like women's jealousy can become quite toxic. I feel like there's a movement now.
But I do think it's both way around. Sometimes I find myself as well being a little bit like, I don't want to tell her this good news. And maybe my being cautious is what's creating maybe it's me. Maybe it's something I'm doing. So I do think that we need to analyze, maybe it's a dynamic thing. But I have been quite unlucky with women throughout my life.
Same.
Yeah, I've been really unlucky, unfortunately.
Yeah,
but God blesses you in different ways. So I've been really lucky with males and male friends and stuff like that. I've been really, really lucky. But women, I now would put nothing past them. In my life. Yeah, I put nothing past it.
I've had a lot of female friends, and to be honest, out of all my friends, I'm the most driven one.
Yeah.
So I've always been quite motivated from a young age because I come from a family of entrepreneurs. So for me, it was always to strive and be better and do more. So I was always the one that was working longer than all my friends, doing more than all my friends, and essentially having 3 jobs at the same time.
Wow.
Yeah, like I've always been like that.
I've had the opposite problem where I have no work ethic, by the way, guys, 0. I'm incredibly relaxed when it comes to work. I could take it or leave it. But success, or kind of like anything, whatever you call it, just used to follow me. So even when I was a teacher, I would get really high results out of the kids. Or and I'm not a hardworking person at all. Even like with the social media stuff, I just post it. I don't care about it. I really didn't care about it at all. I just used to post it. I didn't think anything about it. I never invested in marketing. I never even graphic design. My page is so embarrassing. It's like GCSE artwork. And I don't care to. And everyone's like, you could be this. You should be doing that. And I'm like, I don't care about this stuff. Like I could care less. But it happens to follow me. The kind of reaction followed me. And I think that used to lead to a lot of jealousy because it would come a bit more effortlessly for me. A lot of things, like even with how maybe people would treat me nicely or whatever it is. And I felt like sometimes people get jealous of the reaction you receive from others. Not even just you, just the fact that it's so easy for you to make friends, or it's so easy for you to jump the queue, or it's so easy for you to like get on a podcast with this person or that person so quickly and easily. Praise be to God. This is all praise be to God.
Yeah.
But I would always have the opposite problem because it looked like I was doing everything effortlessly. But it would come. I don't have a work ethic. I had an ethic to be educated, never to work, ever. So it just came as a result.
But I feel like you're doing what you love, and you're essentially
praise be to God.
Yeah, you are, and like a lot of the stuff that you actually attract, like you're actually putting out good information.
I try not to put anything out that's not beneficial. If it's just a bit of nonsense, I try and avoid it. And sometimes I do. And when I do put nonsense out, it goes viral. Like I always say, one of my most viral videos about gold diggers